Hello and welcome to our thought for the day. I've got a little prayer for you that was written some 450 years ago, and I will read it to you a little later. I like it very much. And to explain why, I need to tell you a little bit about my faith. When I was young, we had a vicar who spent a lot of time with us young people. And he was really good fun to be with. And I remember him talking about one of his colleagues once, or maybe it was the curate, I don't remember. That colleague was meant to do a service in the old people's home. And he said to our vicar, well, if I do this service, I need a few hours to prepare a sermon for it. And our vicar said to us, I don't understand why he needs so much time. When I go to the old people's home, it's either the Good Shepherd or don't be afraid every time. And I don't need to prepare for that at all. And I found that quite funny. But also remember thinking, don't be afraid. And the Good Shepherd, is that all there is to being a Christian when you are in an old people's home? And I thought that wouldn't appeal to me very much. Yes, having faith in Jesus does give you security because you're loved and never alone, and you do not have to be afraid. It's true. And I value that for myself. And maybe you have experienced that too. And it's wonderful to know that you're safe and secure. But there's another side to following Jesus. Something that I found really very attractive as a teenager, and even now. Something adventurous and risky and exciting and wild. I have always liked Bible stories when Jesus walks on the water, on the lake, and the disciples are in their boat. And then Peter says, Lord, can I come to you? And Jesus doesn't say, oh, no, that's too dangerous, leave that to me. He says, yes. And Peter steps out of the boat and walks on the water, just like Jesus. At least for a few steps, until he gets frightened and he starts to sink and Jesus has to pull him up. Or when Jesus sends his disciples out to heal the sick, to exorcise demons. You have seen me do it. Now it's your turn. You go. Or think of the Acts of the Apostles. Their courage. Their 100% commitment. And all the things they experienced. That is not a tame faith that has ticked every single box of the risk assessment. One of my friends keeps talking about a week when he went walking with other Christian men, and they only took they only took 5 pounds for each day with them to sustain them, and otherwise completely relied on God to feed them and to find places to stay. And the idea was to go to towns and villages and actually involve people in conversations about God, witness to them, pray for them. And every time my friend talks about it, his eyes light up. And he says, what an adventure it was. And I've put myself in situations like that, when I completely relied on God and depended on him and stepped out for him and with him. I once took 3 months off work and went to the Yemen to work in a clinic. And Yemen, even then, was a dangerous place. Bombs exploded around me. And a few weeks after I left, some Christian doctors were even killed. But I saw people get healed and find Jesus. I don't know about you. Maybe all you want from Jesus is a bit of security and peace. And he'll give you that. And that's fine. But if that's not all you want, and if you have so far thought that believing in Jesus is just a crutch for weak people and frightened people who need to cling to something in order to cope with life, then you need to know there is a completely other side to believing in Jesus. And it can get wild and way beyond your comfort zone. And it needs courage and commitment. And it's fun and incredibly rewarding. The greatest adventure you could ever dream of. Another prayer I promised you. Disturb us, Lord, when we are too well pleased with ourselves, when our dreams have come true because we have dreamt too little, when we arrived safely because we sailed too close to the shore. Disturb us, Lord, when, with the abundance of things we possess, we have lost our thirst for the waters of life. Having fallen in love with life, we have ceased to dream of eternity. And in our efforts to build a new earth, disturb us, Lord, to dare more boldly, to venture on wider seas, where storms will show your mastery, where losing sight of land, we shall find the stars. If that's the kind of faith you want and you're longing for, just make that your prayer and just be expectant of what God can do. God bless you.